Welcome to the Bose colony, which is a safe place for basics and ISOs alike to hide from the basic versus ISO tension. The people who live here, programs who live here, are referred to as Bostromites. Now, much like Urgus City, this place isn't even mentioned outside of Tron Evolution. It is mentioned in another version of this game, Tron Evolution Battle Grids, which I think is a party game, and has nothing to do with the story of this game at all. This is my favorite level artistically, and it's my second favorite level overall, because this place just looks gorgeous. It's also the second most fast-paced level, which helps it a lot. There's a lot of things going on in this level, but there's still plenty of room for atmosphere as well, which is the most important thing about this game, really. So Clue's forces apparently haven't found this place yet, which is good. They might not even know it exists, though I'm sure they'll find out eventually. It's still... Okay, so Clue's forces may not have gotten here, but the Abraxis virus did. The only way to hurt these enemies is with the stasis disc, which slows down enemies, and if you hit them a second time, they explode. Presuming they're weak enough. So, the Abraxis just seemed to infect things randomly at first, but if that's the case, how did it get here? How did it find this place? We didn't see any signs of it infecting things on the way here. If we did, Gibson probably would have freaked out already. So it must have come here for a reason. It must have actively sought this place out. Because what other explanation is there? And we don't really know whether viruses have free will or motivation. But there's really no alternative to this situation. It didn't just randomly find this place.
Those friends I told you about. Not so friendly anymore. They were infected by the virus. I had to put them down. Get up here now! You gotta help me find Flynn. I'm not losing him. My friends aren't dying for nothing, and neither am I. Get up here! Sorry, I can't help you from here. Where is he? Where's Flynn?
So it seems this entire place, this entire colony was infected pretty fast. I mean, surely Gibson couldn't have been gone from here that long. Could you imagine seeing your entire society and all of your friends infected and destroyed so quickly? No, of course you couldn't, because that's horrifying. The stasis disc destroys the weakest enemies in just one hit instead of freezing them. So it can act as a replacement heavy disc for some situations. This is honestly the second most useful disc overall. It doesn't pack that much offensive power, but it's capable of slowing down any enemy, including bosses, which we will get to when we get to that. This is one of those games where I wish these kinds of environments and textures existed in real life. Like, I want to touch absolutely every texture in this, except for the infection. But every other texture in this game. It just looks like it would be so interesting to feel. You might think there's something wrong with the game during this fight simply because it takes so long, but no, there's nothing wrong. Enemies just keep respawning. You still have to kill all of them. If you ever notice the enemies just blankly staring at me like idiots, that's because the stasis disc has an auxiliary function, where I turn invisible if I stand still long enough. I mean, I don't look invisible to us, but I look invisible to everything else. Forgive the brief edit, I assure you it was done to save everyone a great deal of embarrassment. Something that might be of note is that the Bostrom colony contains the grid's kernel, which I'm not sure what that means for the grid because it's never brought up anywhere ever. Kernels did appear in Tron 2.0 as an antagonist of sorts, and they had much more to them in that game, but then again everything about Tron 2.0 was based around world building. So the Bostrom colony contains vanishing platforms and walls, which spices up the platforming a bit. I do believe this is the only place we see them. I like that the wall run markings in the Bostrom colony are also quite different from everywhere else. Other places all have similarly styled wall run markings, but this one's unique, and I like it, though you can easily mistake it for an ETC, which it is not. It's not for healing. Here's something that adds a bit of style to mix up the combat. We encounter Bostromites. We can save them, though we don't need to. And come on, let's be honest, they're gonna die anyway, regardless of whether we save them. Don't be silly. Saving them can be quite difficult though, because they do not have very much health, and in addition, sometimes they run directly toward enemies instead of away from them. If we do save them, or at least one of them, we get a thank you message, but it's not voiced. Come on. Yeah, there it is. So you can see even the Bostromites have a largely positive opinion of Flynn. Clue said his #1 priority was containing the Abraxis virus, but he doesn't seem to be doing a very good job of that. You could be forgiven for thinking he already contained it, since we hadn't seen it in a while, but clearly that's not the case. I suppose Clue would have a lot to gain from the Bostromites being destroyed. So maybe if he did see the virus come here, he didn't care all that much. It's a shame we have so little idea about what most of these things are or what functions they perform. It makes me wonder if the writers had things in mind, but they were never able to express them. Usually that's what tie-in media is for, you know? But the tie-in media died. Hard. You might wonder why the Bostromites are green and why the Bostrom colony is green, but there's no real hardcore reason behind it, or any of the colors, really. It all seems to be primarily for aesthetic reasons. The only characters colored green are the Bostromites and Gibson, although that's a really arbitrary reason to color someone green. The programs in the original Tron had many different colors too, but with more set reasons. But Tron Legacy is supposedly canon to the original Tron, so, you know, nothing makes any sense. suppose it's something that happens in a lot of media. You have this really cool world, but you still need to tell a story. So all of the details of the world get a bit lost. Of course, you can incorporate the world's exposition into the story if you try really hard. But that's a lot more difficult for something like, say, a movie. I like that you need to actually make use of this appearing block instead of waiting for it to vanish before jumping. It's actually the only way to get up here successfully. The only other game or thing really that immediately comes to mind when I think of stories that don't make full use of their world is Dark Void. Because Dark Void had a really, really complex world, but the story it had to tell was so short that it just goes boom. In this room, we need to press all the wall switches in the proper order, as they are shown above the door. The weird thing about this room is that the camera occasionally just jerks back to the door to show you the order of the switches again. Yeah, like that. And I don't know why it does that. We do need to press all the switches in a timely manner too, or else they will just go back out. But after we press them all, they stay pressed. Yeah, see, I would really like it if the game would not do that. After we press all the switches, we have to take out a few of the infected so the door will open. Of course, the game doesn't tell you this, so it's a bit strange. And not only that, but the camera occasionally still flickers back to the door.
Where'd he go? Where's Fled? Really? Now I gotta deal with this?
Welcome it. It's easier that way.
So I don't know what this room is, I don't know what it does, but we need to press 3 switches really fast, or else Abraxis will infect the room and we'll die. This is actually a pretty reasonable time limit. They could have made it a lot more strict. Because unless you're really, really bad at the game's platforming, you'll probably get it done with at least 40 seconds to spare. This new enemy is weak to both stasis and corruption, so we're going to try and use the corruption disc. The corruption disc makes them corrupted, like the infected corrupted we saw at the beginning of the game. It drains their health, and if you hit them enough times with it, it turns them into a bomb. But you didn't get to see that because he fell right off the ledge. I don't like the corrupted disc very much. It seems like it's super slow in a game that relies a lot on direct confrontation.
That's Flynn's. If he left, that things probably didn't go well. We should get back to Arza. Radia will know what happened. She'll know what to do. Might as well take it. He'd want a friend to have it. Head for the Canyon Pass. It's the fastest way to the Outlands. From there, it'll be a straight shot to Arza. I'll go left, you go right. It's gonna be bumpy. Think you can handle it? I don't answer. You don't have a choice.
It was bad enough that the Abraxis virus attacked, but now Clue's forces are absolutely destroying the area, just completely carpet bombing it. This is my favorite light cycle section because it has so many alternate pathways. They always reconverge, but there's plenty of times where you have to make a choice really quick or else you smash into a wall. And I like that. So if Flynn is dead, we're just ruined. There's no hope for anybody. We're supposed to be heading toward Arja right now to talk with Radia, but in case you don't know which direction Clue's forces are coming from, it's Arja City. So, things over there probably aren't so hot either. I mean, maybe we can get there in time for Arja and Radia to not be completely murdered, but that seems doubtful considering how depressing this game has been so far. I feel like this game and Tron Legacy and Tron Uprising were meant to start some kind of multimedia franchise. I mean, I guess Tron technically is a multimedia franchise, but I mean a significant one. But could you imagine if instead this game was just a standalone product, with no tie-ins whatsoever? It would probably be one of the most depressing things you could ever play.
Frightened of the end. ISO. Imperfect. Now you will understand. Get used to it.
I can feel it infecting me. I can't hold it back much longer!
Well, our life's just a big pile of shit, isn't it? So Gibson's first form isn't that difficult to deal with. But let's talk about something in the story. The Abraxis called him imperfect. Now, I've heard that before, from someone entirely different, Clue. But Abraxis is probably not Clue. I mean, we saw them at the same time.
Take it now!
And if Abraxis was once an ISO, why would it want to destroy all the other ISOs? Also, Gibson is really concerned with killing us right now. Unfortunately for him, he's super weak in his first form. All we have to do is run around in a circle and jump. So now Gibson is inside the energy transfer conduits, which we can't break with our bomb. Unlike the other easily broken objects, we have to use our regular light disc attack. When Gibson goes inside one of the energy transfer conduits, he summons a group of enemies. Like these corrupted infected that we haven't seen since, again, the very beginning of the game. The corrupted infected are the most dangerous form of enemy because their explosions have such a wide radius and deal so much damage. But on the bright side, if you hit them with a bomb disc, they explode everything around them, too.
Oh, man.
This group of enemies is the variety that is only weak to the stasis disc, but thankfully there are plenty of places to refill our energy. The stasis disc also affects Gibson and makes him move slower, but it doesn't hurt him, of course.
Oh man, that one.
And for some reason this wave is just regular infected who don't really do anything, and they're pretty weak.